Good evening, my name is Garrett and welcome to The Last Call. Tonight's final drink is from RD1 Spirits. This is their Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey finished with Amburana wood staves, coming in at a 55% ABV, at least 4 years old. Now, here in Indiana, we more recently started seeing RD1 show up, and they seem to be doing some sourcing because on the back of the bottle does tell us that it's just bottled by them, which is not a problem, that's fine enough. But what they're doing is that they're taking a Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey and finishing it with Amburana staves, where they put like a honeycomb pattern on there to get even more impact from the stave. And if you're unsure what Amburana wood is, essentially it comes from South America. And they tend to use it for things like essential oils and building things even, to using it for their national spirit as well, which I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, so I apologize. But what do we do with a rare wood that gets a very small amount of exporting out of a country? We throw whiskey into it. But we've actually seen a lot more distilleries playing around with the wood because it's a very high impact, low amount of time for finishing a product in it. And you know what? I give it credit because it brings across some very unique notes. More recently, I did Nulu, and it was gorgeously done. So I don't know what to expect here coming from RD1 Spirits because I've not had anything from them yet. And the funny thing is I grabbed this because it was such a good price for my market, and I thought it was a rye. And because of the green. Green usually triggers my brain thinking it's a rye whiskey, but this is a straight bourbon whiskey. So let's just hop into things. As always, we're going to be trying it two different ways. First way, neat, no ice, no water. Second way, we'll add just a drop of water, see if anything changes up. And as always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of good stuff. Depending on how this goes, if I get the opportunity to review some other RD1 Spirits, I definitely will. And those will be linked up above and down below to check them out as well. I do love their unique bottle shape here with their fence row on here, the kind of almost flask style because it's got this kind of bubble in the back. I really like it. And love the big, huge pour spout on this, I can tell already. Like the bigger thick lip on there. Good grip. But yeah, I picked it up going, that's a really good price. And then I was like, oh, it's a bourbon whiskey. But again, I'm a big fan of Amburana so far. I've only had 2 things done. I've got a couple more in the lineup too, though. Beautiful dark color on there. Very reminiscent color to the Nulu as well. All right, let's go for notes. Ooh, yeah. So this must have been done for a lighter amount of time. So you get a bit of the cinnamon sugar, which I tend to find in Amburana wood. But you're also getting a bit of that classic Kentucky on the nose. Vanilla oak caramel, dustiness. I'm curious where they're sourcing from. But beautifully light nose. It's not super sweet, which definitely the Nulu was. It doesn't go quite cinnamon sugar, just a little cinnamon. And there's a lot more sugar on this one. Almost powdered sugar. And you're also getting a little bit of spice in there. Ooh, hold on. I actually got a lot more cinnamon on that one. Yeah. But the spice notes you're getting, a bit of cinnamon, clove, nutmeg. But that's a beautifully done nose. Let's find out how the taste goes. It's pretty solid. Oh, there it is. There it is. I was about ready to say, I don't get a lot of Amburana on taste. It shows up here in the finish. So, right from the get-go, it's classic Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Spices, dustiness. Being 4 years old, it does taste a little youthful on the palate, which kind of surprised me. But there is a youth taste going on here. And it's almost a little sour, but then all the beautiful sweet Amburana cask is showing up. The cinnamon sugar, your clove, your nutmegs, your deep, rich notes are all showing up here in the finish. But the beginning goes kind of classic. Interesting. Definitely, I would have to guess it was finished for a very short amount of time because there's not a high impact of that Amburana cask. Yeah, right up front, you're almost getting a burst of like an apple. And then a little bit of caramel and the oak tannins are showing up here. And that little bit of dustiness is there too from the grain. And then it kicks into the cinnamon sugar and the spices like baking. But definitely not as high of an impact as the Nulu, But if you didn't like the high impact of the Nulu, this is a good example of finishing probably for a short amount of time to give less impact, but still getting those beautiful Amburana finishing going on here. It's sweeter. And that's the big thing here. You got to be expecting a sweet cinnamon sugar bomb. And the cinnamon sugar is like freshly grated cinnamon. And I would say it's like cinnamon from like the Mexico and southern regions as well, because it has a completely different flavor profile to it than what standard cinnamon sticks that we find here in the United States tend to be. It's really growing on me. My first sip, I was like, it's okay. Second sip, I'm like, this is really good. Third sip, that is gorgeous now. It's really growing on me. I like the little bit of classic Kentucky at the beginning here. It's not super impactful from start to finish, which I appreciate. It's almost like eating your main course and then getting dessert at the end of it all, which is funny to say, but you're getting those classics up front, the sweetness on the back end. You're getting a nice high proof as well. There's no off notes. There's nothing harsh, ABV, or anything like that. And again, those youth notes, it might have been just my first sip of it, kind of bringing those across, because they've really kind of washed themselves away here. All right, let's add a little drop of water. See what changes up here. Now, when I added water to an Amburana cask in the past, it made it go kind of split, where I got more of both cohesive parts of it, where I got the whiskey on one side and the Amburana finishing on the other. I'm curious what happens here, mainly because they are very similar proofed, and age statement wise, it was 2 years older and coming from MGP, where this is at least 4. So I'm curious. Let's just say that much. I don't know what to expect here. So let's go for notes. Very similar. Actually, this is a completely different experience from the Nulu, because the Nulu split and this did not at all. That is, I mean, maybe a couple, I'd say maybe 10 or 20% less of notes, but almost identical on the nose. You're still getting the cinnamon, the sugar, the toasted elements, the oak, the vanilla, the caramel, the apple sweetness is still showing up. Everything you want is still showing up on the nose. I really like that too. I'm trying to see if there's anything really different. Yeah, that's the big thing, is that this is just got the notes turned up to like a 10. Like sweet cinnamon sugar here. It's like kind of dialed back a little bit. All right, let's go for a taste. Very similar on the taste. If anything, the apple sweetness shows up a little bit more. Almost Granny Smith-like for me. Still getting all the baking spices going on. You're getting these beautiful cinnamon sugars, the nutmegs, the clove, the caramels. Everything that was going on in the neat version. If anything, it's just a little more dusty from the corn grain on there. But still really good. Close to mouthfeel on there, not quite as clingy, which is expected. Usually adding water breaks up those oils. I don't have an argument against this version. If this is too sweet, this is going to give you a very similar experience, just a little bit dialed back. But that's damn good. All right, let's talk about market price, because we all know market price is market price, and it's always going to vary. So I ended up finding it in my market for $56 at a Meyer. It was the last one on the shelf for $56.99. And I was very tempted to pick it up at another store that had it for $80. Now, I will say this much. At $56, this is steal. You're getting a nice high proof, at least 4 years old, and that Amburana finishing. I do wish we knew where it was coming from. I'm not as prevalent in my Kentucky distilleries as some people are, so you might know who this is from. But I gotta say, it's really damn good. Easy $60 value here. Maybe even closer to $70. I'd say $65 to $70. The Amburana finishing is pulling a higher dollar point for a lot of markets. Again, the Nulu is like $100 plus. There's a few others out there that are pulling up into $60, $70. So, you know what? It's a steal at $56. Easy, buy it, definitely. If you're looking to try out Amburana without getting too deep into it, or you've tried to from the deep side and you want to kind of back off a little bit, they're doing a good job here. I really like that. That might be one of my favorite bottles I've had so far this year. Holy crap. That is really tasty, especially for its price. Sub $60, easy grab. Over $60, I still wouldn't have any problem with it. Under $70, I wouldn't blink on it. Over $70, that's more of a maybe section for me, but definitely keep an eye out for this one. Grab it if you can. It's going to go quick, I feel like. So yeah, there you have it, folks. RD1 Spirits Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, finished with Amburana oak staves. If you have any questions about the bottle itself, let me know down in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer it. And if you have any specific spirits I should go looking for, also let me know down below. Love doing these reviews and sharing with you the experience at home. And as always, may your last drink of the night be the best one.
You know, and I really like it might not.